I'll just start out and tell you a little bit about myself and about the Munsters, and then we'll just open it up to questions and ask me whatever you feel like. Now, I'd like to introduce my son. This is my oldest boy, Pierce Jensen, and he knows a lot about me.
I might be able to answer some questions. She can't.
Right, or that I have forgotten.
Right.
First of all, how I came about the Munsters. Prior to that, I'd been doing a lot of TV commercials and guest roles on various shows. Mary Tyler Moore, My Favorite Martian, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, Mission Impossible, a lot of the shows. And my agent called me that they wanted to do a test for the Munsters, because the girl that had done the first 13 episodes, her name was Beverly Owen, and she was from New York, and she was very unhappy, and she wanted to leave. She was in love with the director of Captain Kangaroo in New York, and she wanted to go back and get married. So, depending on how you look at it, her misfortune was my good fortune, or maybe the other way around. But so then, 13 episodes had already been filmed, and so they were doing tests. And they tested 5 of us on a Wednesday. And Thursday, they called me to tell me I had gotten the part. Friday, I signed the contracts, and Monday, I started. She finished on Friday. I've never met her to this day. It's been 52 years. I have never, ever even seen her. And I would love to, because, we had a shared experience. But then I went on to do 57 episodes. We did a total of 70. We only filmed for 2 years. And of course now they do like 22 a season, and we did 39. And and then after the Munsters, after we finished filming, I went back to doing guest spots and commercials and things. And then when I was 55, I sort of retired. I moved to Sun Valley, Idaho. I was a skier. And there comes a point in life when you give up quantity of life for quality of life. And at that point, that's where I was, and my husband and I moved there. And we've been there now almost 30 years. Not in Sun Valley, we've moved on into Boise. And my boys live in California. I have 2. I have another son. And everyone says, "Oh, your boys are in California and you're in Idaho." And I say, "Yes, I left them." Yeah, they didn't leave us, we left them. But they come to visit us all the time, and we visit them all the time.
Well, and you still do a lot of collectible shows around the country each year, and we're able to hook up at those, like today. And so you've retired from the acting business, but you still attend quite a few shows and interact with the fans and meet and greet and all of that.
And little did I realize that the Munsters, were a cult. And, every Friday when we finished filming, I would walk off the set, have my script in my hand, toss it into the garbage cans right there at the stage door. And of course now, a script signed, an original script, it'd be about $200. So that was one of the retirement funds I threw away every time I did a show.
Because back then it was just a job.
It was a job,
Actress,
right?
Punch in and punch out, and you
Yeah.
don't think about saving these things.
No, I
Never
saved
a
nothing. I didn't have any memorabilia. And I don't know if you all remember Van Williams. He was the Green Hornet. And he lived, just a block or two away from us in Sun Valley. And he was always going out to these memorabilia collectors, Comic Con shows. And he said to me one day, well, Pat, you should be doing this. I said, well, really? Well, what do we do? How do I go about it? He said, well, do you have any memorabilia? No. He said, do you have any photos from the show? And I said, no. And he said, well, let's see. You know Kevin Burns, don't you? And I said, well, yes. I know Kevin. I've known him since he was 12 years old. Well, he's a big documentary producer now in Hollywood. And he is also the largest Munster collector in the world. So he said, call up Kevin, he's in California, go down there, go through his photos. He bought everything from the studios and all. He can get you set up. Okay, great. So I called him on the phone and said I was coming down, and he said, sure, come on over, we'll get them all, I'll have them, pick them out, and I'll have them all made up for you. And I was going down and doing the show. And so he got me set up, and that was about 30 years ago when I did my first show. And, but, most of the time the shows that I do are on the East Coast. And going from Idaho to the East Coast, it's called 3 planes, maybe 4. And if any one of them are late, you've had it. You have to go in a day early. So I have tried to confine just doing shows on the West Coast. West is Chicago. And so that's what I've been doing. Does anyone have any questions?
Did anyone else from the Munsters have memorabilia?
No. Do you know what?
Did that?
No. It was just simply a job. No one ever signed anything or had anything. Also, interesting to know, if any dealers have Fred Gwynn's autograph, it's fake. Because Fred Gwynn did not sign anything. There are a couple people, Kevin Burns, because he was a little boy who came out on the set. And actually the reason he came out from New York is because Fred befriended him because he was an illustrator also. He did caricatures. And so he has an original. But he just didn't sign anything. He did not want any association after he finished the Munsters with the Munsters. He would not even, Grandpa was his very best friend. He would not even stand next to Grandpa for a picture because he wanted to be thought of as a serious actor. He felt he was portraying a cartoon character, which of course was a brilliant piece of acting. And he did go on to do wonderful things. My Cousin Vinny and Pet Sematary, and on and on and on. And he started on Broadway. And now, the only ones that are left is just me and little Eddie. And we have done quite a few shows together, and especially last year, mostly on the East Coast. Little Eddie is now 63 and just got married for the first time 2 weeks ago. First time.
And you two do shows together, too.
Yes,
A lot
yes,
of
we
times,
do.
yeah.
A lot of times. He has purchased beautiful replication of a reproduction of the Munster coach and the Dragula, and he has the bike, the little bike he rode. And so he does a lot of car shows and things like that because he has, the equipment. And I would join him occasionally for some of the shows. I haven't done any acting, since I was 55, which is a long time ago. And that's because when you live in Idaho, you don't just fly down to California for an interview. No. A part? Yes. An interview? No. You really have to live there if you want to work in the industry. Unless, you're a very, very big star. And so I've been enjoying going out. And it's wonderful because when you're doing the show, you never know how you're perceived. Because you don't get the feedback. We come out and do shows like these, the memorabilia shows, and people come up and they say, when we used to watch with our family used to always watch. Well, those days are going. Families aren't watching with TV shows with their families. There's not a lot of shows you want your children to watch anymore. The shows in the 60s were just about the last of what I call a family, families getting together to watch. And so not only when people would come up and share that with me, how important it was, with their family, they had that memory. And it made me feel really good to think that we were a part of, and a lot of people were handicapped and had been in homes and things, and that was their activity. They would watch the Munsters, and so it was very heartwarming. So I have a lot of wonderful memories, if I can remember them. I mean, we're getting to that point too. Do you have anything, honey?
Well, are there any questions offhand? Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Outside of just the Munsters, you've had a great range of you're in various episodes, various classic shows from Mission Impossible, Bewitched. Do you have any particular other parts and shows that you were a part of that kind of stand out, that were you really enjoyed it, maybe wish you had continued on it longer?
Well, in Bewitched, I played Dr. Bombay's nurse, and then there was another episode where I was a little, that reduced my boyfriend down to a little miniature person. A fun show I did was Mary Tyler Moore, and I played Betty White's sister, Sue Ellen, from Atlanta, Georgia, and it was fun because I had to do it with a Southern accent, and of course I had lived. My first marriage, I had lived in Virginia, and it's easy to pick up the accent, so I did that show.
Didn't you do 4 episodes of that show? 3 or 4, I think. It wasn't considered a reoccurring role.
Kind of,
but yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you had a few.
But also, right after I did the Munsters, I did a film with Elvis Presley. And
After the Munsters.
After the Munsters. It was called Easy Come, Easy Go. And of course I say, well, that's the story of my life. But at the time, and a lot of people come up and ask me, well, what was Elvis like to work with? At that point in his life, Priscilla was very much in his life. They were not married. I had never met her. She never came on the set, but he had his entourage of guys, and he had 10 guys, from musical director to chef to bodyguards, whatever. And they all came on the set every day with him when we were filming. Wonderful, very, very nice guys. And he, we'd sit and chat a little bit, between scenes. He was shy. He was religious. He was always on time. He was not a prima donna in any sense of the word. He was a director's delight. And that was a wonderful experience. Now, I never saw him after that when we finished filming.
Well, tell them how this leads into how you lost your next retirement fund.
Oh, yes. Yes, my second retirement fund. One day we were sitting and we were chatting, and I don't know how we got on the subject of cars, and I said I was looking to buy a car, and he said, "Oh, well, I'll sell you a car." And I said, "Really?" I said, "Well, what do you have? What's your car?" And he said, "Well, I have a 1965 Eldorado Cadillac convertible, black leather interior, Holland, convertible top. And the keychain said EP on two little discs on the keychain, okay?" And I said, "Well, Elvis, I'd probably never be able to afford that." And he said, "Can you afford $3,000? And I said, "Sold." So I bought his car, and I drove it for a couple years, and then I traded it in, not as Elvis's car, never said a word about it being Elvis's car, traded it in for a Pontiac Grand Prix, which George Barris, who did our Munster coach, George customized it for me. So it was a little bit different. Had I had any kind of sense, it would have been put up on blocks, and that would have been my second retirement fund. Right there.
Because the keychain went with the car when you
Yes,
turned it in.
yes.
Yeah, trade-in.
Yeah, and I didn't say the EP stood for Elvis Presley. No. Yes, no, they didn't know. And so, yeah, that was a very big mistake. And the third kind of funny story, I did several Lucille Ball shows. And Lucy was a good friend of a friend of mine. In fact, she was her voice coach and lived in a little casitas beside her house.
You were also neighbors down in
Palm Springs. And so I was over visiting my friends, and she said, I got to go in, I got to talk to Lucy. Lucy played backgammon almost every day. And she had a friend, and they were playing backgammon, and we stopped and chatted for a few minutes. And she said, "What size shoe do you wear, Pat?" And I said, "Well, I wear an 8. And she says, "Well, right there by the kitchen door is a whole bag of shoes I'm giving to Goodwill. If you want them, take them." So I took them, and I went through, and there were a few that fit me. And the rest that didn't fit me, I sold in a garage sale for $1 a pair. Not as Lucy shoes.
Even though they were all in boxes.
Well, I still have one pair that was in a box, and it says L Ball on the box. And there were shoes she had worn in a show. And I kept one pair because the box had her name on it. But I sold all the rest of them for $1 a pair. I mean, they were just shoes. So that was another fund that I'd thrown away. I've done very well in investments. That's why I'm out doing memorabilia shows. That was another thing. At the time I filmed, all the shows in the 60s we worked under the old union contracts. The new union contracts didn't come in until 1970 with Ronald Reagan when he became president of the Screen Actors Guild. The old union contracts called for us to be paid residuals, 7 reruns per episode, maximum. That was used up in the first 2.5 years. So for the last 50 years, 0. We've received 0. But you know, by the same token, now is when, of course, the producers and the owner of the show is Ted Turner. Now it's when the producers and the owners of the show are making their money because they don't have to pay anyone. But by the same token, they still they've kept us out there in front of the public for 50 years. So I guess one hand kind of washes the other.
Well, since we're in a casino, you and Al did receive some royalties, some payments when they came out with the Munsters slot machine. They don't have any here, but
they may
I've played that
have
machine many
yeah.
times. Yeah, the Munsters.
Oh, I have to tell you a funny story. They did do a Munster slot machine, and it was big in Vegas, and I've seen it. And Butch, little Eddie, was in Vegas, and you know, he started looking into the fact that, wait a minute, you know, they're using our voices, although we had no commercial rights, you know, to the lunch pails, to anything, but we owned our own voice and our own pictures. And so he started looking into it with a lawyer in Las Vegas. And Al was alive, and Yvonne was alive, and Butch and I, and we all joined. We found out that they were using our likenesses and not paying us. So we brought a lawsuit against the gaming company, the big gaming company, and we won it. Of course, the attorney took a hefty portion, as they always do. But nevertheless, it was nice to get something for, you know, all of our efforts over the years. I mean, certainly the merchandising has made a lot of money for Universal, who own all the merchandising rights. And they've merchandised everything. I mean, they're Marilyn Munster doll in a box, and it's got 2 arms. You take off one arm and you put it on, and it's like this. It's up like this. And then the other arm is straight down. And Marilyn, it looks like a Barbie doll, a poor Barbie doll. And there's Marilyn Munster paper dolls and puzzles and books and lunch pails and everything. I go out to the shows, I can't even afford to buy any of the memorabilia. I mean, it's a lunch pail is going for like, with a thermos, for like $500. I mean, it's just incredible. And of course, I don't see them either anymore. Very little. I did, if you notice in my photos, you see, I have a picture of me in a leopard bathing suit sitting in front of the Munster car. Now, the Munsters would never allow anything like that. I mean, Marilyn's bathing suit would have been a pair of Bermudas and a t-shirt, preferably long sleeve. But George Barris, and this was a leopard bathing suit, George Barris wanted me to do a photo shoot with some of the Munster cars. And so he did that. I had the leopard suit. I don't know whatever happened to it, but I found that, many, many years ago, I found that same bathing suit exactly brand new at a show. And of course, I bought it right away, you know.
It was made by Cole of California.
Cole of
by the way.
California, yeah. And so my life has been interesting. I have two wonderful boys, and my oldest boy is an eBay auction agent and has been for.
Well, yeah, that's why when you were saying about Fred Gwynn's autograph being fake, I mean, I see his forged autographs every single week on eBay. I do have an original autograph of Fred when he wrote his book, Best in Show.
Wow.
And he did autograph his book.
Because he gave it to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I know that's a real autograph.
Yeah, because I was there when he gave it to me and signed it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I know that's real. It's just amazing to see Pat, Al, Yvonne's, Butch's, those are all easy autographs to get. It's just amazing how many photos are on eBay that include all of them, plus Fred Gwynn. And you know he would never, ever sign a photo. So if you collect the Munster memorabilia, just be very wary of
Well,
those autographs.
my son has even, because you've been an eBay auction agent for what, 14 years? 17. He liquidates antiques, estates, personal collections, you know, china, silver, whatever.
And pop memorabilia, and lots of autographs and sports.
And he'll even
memorabilia.
call me up because he will come across some frauds for me.
Especially Munster props, you need to be very wary of that. There's a clown I'm getting ready to report, and so far over the last 2 years, he has put up on eBay 23 salt and pepper shakers that he says were Munster props. Now, at the most, they would have issued 2 salt and pepper shakers. One is the standard, what's shown on TV, and one is a backup. And it's just amazing how many fake props are out there and how many fake certificates of authenticity. For lots of various shows, I just tune into Munster props because I've seen every episode 20 times. I know what 99% of the props were and what kind of set decoration was used, because I have a real keen eye for set decoration. And you know when these things are just never used. I mean, how many candelabras were possibly issued to the set? 1, maybe 2, and there's guys same sellers selling 4, 5, 6, 7 over the years. And it just didn't happen. And most of those props were bought up by Ken Burns, the biggest, Kevin Burns.
Yes,
the
Kevin
biggest Munster
and
collection.
this.
I mean, he bought up the walls, the stairs, the wood. He bought up everything. So when you see a lot of Munster props out there, probably 95% of them were never ever used in the show. Maybe even more.
That's true. There's a lot of fraud. I know when I'm signing, I will not sign any just little blank cards, just my name on a blank card, an index card. We get that because what they will do, they can reproduce the pictures, and people do. They can do that, and if they get a card with the autograph on, they can, I don't know, somehow reproduce that and
Put it right over the picture.
and put it onto the picture and then sell it. So I think, you know, authenticity is simply through the shows, because I'm here and I'm signing, or through the fan club. My assistant, I think it's, what's the name of it? I don't know what I'm doing. My assistant tells me what I'm doing every day. She's back manning the booth.
they can get information from Jerry from your booth.
Well, and you just look on the past priest if you want to purchase any photos or anything. I mean, if you, and that all comes to me. I just, you know, I don't want to see anybody ripped off, so to speak. You know, just not right. Any other questions? Yes.
I met Butch at the San Jose Toy Show. And I saw the cars you were talking about.
Yes.
I can't remember where I got pulled. Any plans to come to San Jose for the toy show? For you?
Any shows with him?
Well, no, are you planning to come to San Jose?
Oh, any.
That's where we're from.
Do you know what? I would love to. If you know any show promoters, because I don't want to go to the East Coast anymore. It's just too hard. I mean, I'll do any show, as I say, west of Chicago.
Well, we should do San Jose. Yeah,
And
my
I would
daughter
love.
lives in San Jose. I'm 2.5 hours away.
Yeah, I would love to. So if you know any promoters or anything, just suggest it.
What are my time tunnel toys? Time tunnel.
Pardon?
Time tunnel.
You own
Time
Time
Tunnel.
I don't know it. No,
Oh, just
No.
put on by it.
Yeah.
Do you know what? The reason I'm having a little hard time here with that little right here is because I don't know what's going on.
We'll take
there.
care of that
It's
for
a lot
you.
of talk.
I'll see if we'll put it closing.
That's okay.
They'll tell the fire.
Oh.
I know a question that you get asked a lot. A lot of people, you know, they look at they watch the show and they always have questions about the makeup on the Munsters. You know, you were the plain, simple one. How long did it take you to get that makeup
That does
on?
help a bit. Thank you.
You know, Fred and Al, especially Fred, was a little more extensive. And I remember as a kid when I used to go there on set, you know, you'd all be in the same room together. You'd all be lined up and everybody would be cutting up. But people, you know, always wonder about the makeup. How long did it take to put Fred's on? How long did it take to put yours on? You know, Eddie's was a little different, you know, with the widow's peak.
It took Fred and Al. Well, Fred, it took him 2 hours in the morning to get into the makeup. And then to get out of it at night so he could go home. It took an hour to get out of it. Because, you know, all the headpieces and everything had to be taken off ever so gently. You didn't rip the rubber. And the makeup was very, very hard on their complexion, their face.
Well, and their makeup was green too,
It was
even though
green,
the show
and
was
it
in
was,
black and white.
and it was more of like a grease paint kind of, like a colored coal cream almost. So it was very, very hard on the skin. Me, that's the perks of a few lines. I was in makeup a half hour, so I didn't have to get up that early in the morning, and I could get in my car and get on the freeway and go home as soon as the show was filmed.
Yeah, you would come home with your makeup on.
Yeah.
Just take it off
Yeah.
like normal every day.
Did you ever want to be, like for an episode, be a creature? No?
Well, you know what? They never thought of that.
No,
They never.
well,
I would have thought it would have been fun.
Yeah, okay, that's my question.
You know, and of course people will ask me, well, what was your favorite show? Well, it was any show that I had more than, 3 lines.
Well, and if the show had continued too on into 3rd, 4th, 5th season, they could have done some real crazy stuff.
Yes, they could have. They had it gone on.
But like I know with that episode where Herman becomes him without his makeup on. He becomes, normal. I guess he gets hit by lightning or something in Grandpa's lab. And it's actually Fred Gwynn now at this point in the show. They could have done something where you were hit by lightning and turned into a monster. Or,
They could have, The reason the show went off the air was not because the show wasn't popular. And our ratings were high, were great. I mean, we've been nominated for an Emmy. But Universal filmed the show, and it was on the CBS network. And Universal wanted to go in color. and CBS wouldn't foot the bill for color, and Universal wouldn't foot the bill for color, and so CBS said, fine, you don't want to foot the bill for color, that's it, and they canceled it. Just that simple.
Between black and white and color.
Just between black and white and color. That was the whole reason.
But they did make a movie in color, correct?
But the show has been on the air for 53, 54 years almost. We're on Netflix. We were running it at my table.
Yeah, Munster Go Home, the movies were made in color.
That was like 95 or something? When did that come out? Like 90s?
Oh, 95.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
This is my daughter-in-law, Shelley. That's my husband's wife. And she's a techie expert, so she knows everything about the show and what to do. I do not know how to even turn on the computer. My husband can do it, but I don't. I'm still hung up on the old flip phone, and I don't want to. Someone says, well, don't you want to learn to text? And I said, no, because when you text, like an answer machine, you come home, we used to have the answer machines, and you look at the answer machine, I go, oh no, 25 messages. That means I have to return them all. And you'd spend the next day, because if you don't, then it's, well, what happened? Well, how come you didn't call me back? Well, I left a message. The same with texting. Well, how come you didn't text me back? So I figured, well, if I don't know how to do it, people will understand, and I know it's an inconvenience for other people that have to call me, but that's okay. I talk to everyone I want to talk to.
Well, she does have a real nice iPad that she uses exclusively to play Sudoku.
Approved.
And but with our visit here tonight, we're going to set her up with FaceTime so that Ryan and I get to. So at least now, instead of calling each other every Sunday, we can FaceTime and video connect. Because, FaceTime's fantastic. I can show her new things. Hey, look at our garden. Look what's going on.
And
how's the cat? Show it,
And
So we will set her up with FaceTime and bring her into the future.
And my obituary will say, she died a week after she became a techie.
Any other questions?
Any questions, anyone?
You've worked on a variety of shows with lots of people, from like Bruce Dern, Casey Kasem, even like a movie I believe that had Ronald Reagan in it. Was there any actor or show you would have liked to have worked with or worked on more?
Well, I would have liked more of the Munsters, actually.
Well, we all would have,
That was
too.
a wonderful show for me. Yes, I did too. It seems like every young starlet in Hollywood, years and years ago, either had a soft porn or a horror film.
Yeah.
Well,
Bad horror film.
The other one.
and I chose horror film. And I did a horror film called The Incredible Two-Headed Transplant. I call that my Ed Wood picture. I was the only girl in it. Bruce Dern was my husband. I was a scientist.
And it was one of his first roles.
And one of Bruce's first roles, yes. And Casey Kasem and John Barrymore Jr. I mean, it was, they all went on to do wonderful, wonderful things, and I went on. And it was kind of a fun thing because everything happened to me because I was the only girl. The two-headed monster was always after me. And that, again, that's another cult thing. Yes?
Have you ever done conventions with members of the Addams Family cast?
Yes. Do you know, I do quite a few shows with Wendy, Lisa Loring. Wednesday, Lisa Loring. And I love Cousin It. I do shows with him, Felix Silla. Darling, darling man. And we did early on, they were running on TV Land. They were doing a marathon with the Munsters versus the Addams Family. And it had run all weekend, and this was like a Sunday, and we were doing a show in LA. And we were sitting here, and about 2 tables down was the Addams Family. And of course, I can't even remember the father's name. John Aston, right, was there. And periodically, I'd look down and go, Munsters won. We did. We won. We won the marathon. And we were just in jest and wonderful people and fun.
What was the reaction when you guys would go to the commissary and eat lunch and costume?
Well, and that was a highlight for me in my life. Every day we were filming, Uncle Herman and Grandpa and I, just the 3 of us, always went to the commissary, and we had a round booth and had lunch. And we just sit there and talk about what you do this weekend, how are the kids. We all had kids about the same age. And, I'd come out and people would say, ooh, how can you sit there and eat? And with them, and, putting on the makeup, looking the way they do. It didn't bother me. I didn't even think about it. And I said, it just goes to show when you get to know a person. I mean, it doesn't matter what color, what shape, how you look, where, whatever. You don't notice it. It doesn't. It's just, they were just people we were talking about what we did over the weekend, and that was it.
Well, and I know when you were on the Munsters, you were quite young, and Fred and Al were very, very experienced actors. And I know over the years you've talked about how they kind of mentored you and became your friend and kind of guided you, because you were very young at the time, and kind of guided you through the business and through that show.
They did. Al became my mentor. They were always putting me on. I think the whole time I filmed, I never knew what the truth was about anything. Because they'd make up stories, they'd tell all kinds of things.
And they were best friends for
and
years.
The two of them.
So they knew how to do it.
And I was naive. I believed everything they said. And, but Al passed away about 3 years ago, and his wife Karen, I knew his wife, she just wrote a wonderful book, and it's you can get it on Amazon. It's called I Married a Munster, and it's a wonderful book. She did a beautiful job. In fact, I called her. She lives in Oakland, California now. She moved out from New York, and I called her and I said, Karen, I cannot believe it. I learned things about Al that I never knew, and the whole time that I had worked with him, it was just a part of his life I knew nothing about. So, well, pardon? Oh, she moved to Oakland about a year and a half ago. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, if there aren't any more questions, we can end it. And thank you so much for coming. And you helped me reminisce, Thank you.